Hi and welcome back to Superfox Education. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 2 of the GCSE Chemistry course, which is topic 1, and it's interpreting a chemical formula. So, by the end of this video, you should be able to interpret a chemical formula. It's pretty simple, so let's get straight into it. So, the periodic table shows us all the elements that there are. Each element has a symbol, and every symbol starts with a capital letter. Some symbols have a second letter, which is always a lowercase letter. That's a little recap. Now, interpreting a chemical formula. So, a chemical formula tells us the elements, including any compound, mixture, molecule, whatever. It also tells us the number of each atoms of each element that is needed to make up that compound, mixture, or molecule. So, for example, if I had sodium, carbon, and 3 oxygen, that would be sodium, 1 atom of sodium, carbon, 1 atom of carbon, O3, oxygen 3 atoms of oxygen. Let's have a look at the first example. So here we can see that there is no number to the bottom right of any of these atoms, so it would be here and here, but there isn't any numbers there, so it's just 1 atom of each of these elements. So it's magnesium and sulfur, making the magnesium sulfide. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple of worked examples with you here. So if I had the element sodium, so apologies for the writing, I'm trying to do this with a mouse, and then I added let's say sulfur onto it. Hopefully that works. Whoops, that doesn't look like an S at all. That's supposed to be an S. So here we would have 1 times the sodium and here we have 1 times the sulfur. In the exam you will be getting a periodic table, so you'll be able to just check the periodic table with what these elements are if you don't know. So here we've got 1 sodium, 1 sulfur to make sodium sulfide. Example 2. It's a bit harder now. We've got numbers to the bottom right of some of these elements. So shown below is a chemical formula for sodium sulfate, Na2SO4. So there's a little 2 here to the bottom right of the element sodium. So we know that there are 2 atoms of sodium here. There is no number here to the bottom right of sulfur. So there's 1 element of sulfur. And there's a little 4 here, so we have to times the oxygen atoms by 4. So there's 4 atoms of oxygen here. So sodium sulfate is made up of 2 atoms of sodium, 1 atom of sulfur, and 4 atoms of oxygen. Let's say we had calcium 2, and then we had OH. So here we have a little 2. So this little 2 here, that means we times it by 2. That means 2 times. So we have 2 times calcium, 1 times, because there's no little 2 here. There's an imaginary 1. Do not write the 1 though, because that will get marked wrong. So we don't write those 1s because that will get marked wrong in the exam. And 1 times hydrogen. I'm just going to write H and O, but it's actually oxygen and. Now, example 3. You could be shown any of these examples in your exam and asked to give the chemical formula, or just give it as a symbol formula like it is shown here. So when we have brackets and a number outside the brackets, in this case the 2, we have to times everything that's inside the brackets by 2. So here we've got 1 atom of calcium, then we have 2 atoms of oxygen because there's 1 atom here, we have to times it by 2, and 1 times 2 is 2. And the same with the hydrogen, it's 1 atom here, times it by that little 2 there, here it's 2 atoms of hydrogen. So this is calcium hydroxide, and yeah, it's 1 atom of calcium, 2 atoms of oxygen, and 2 atoms of hydrogen. We had Mg, and then we had SO and a 4 outside. So this 4 here means we times everything inside the brackets by the 4. So here we have 4 times, and here we have the 4 times. And obviously there's no little number here, there's the imaginary 1 here. But remember, we do not write that, so let's just get rid of that. But that means there's 1 atom of magnesium. So overall we have magnesium 4 sulfur and 4 oxygen to make magnesium sulfate. Next slide are 3 questions for you to have a go at. So please can you have a go at these to see if you have understood what the 3 different types of are, and this is literally the hardest that this will get on interpreting a chemical formula. So please can you have a go at these now, and in about 30 seconds time I will show you the answers. So pause the video here if you don't have enough time before I move on. Oh, I've just moved that 3 by accident. There we go. Okie dokie, so let's go on to the answers. So in the number 1, which is sodium oxide, there is 1 atom of sodium and 1 atom of oxygen. Here we have 2 atoms of iron, 1 atom of oxygen, and 1 atom of hydrogen, which makes iron hydroxide. And we have 2 calciums because there's a little 2 here after the calcium, and we have 3 sulfur and 3 oxygen, as we have a little 3 here, so we have to times everything inside the brackets by that 3. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the mass number and atomic number of the chemical, so it will be looking again at the chemical formulas, but we'll be using the periodic table a lot more next lesson, so please make sure you've got a periodic table for the next lesson.